Hello, welcome to Hotline Live, brought to you by Record Sport and NordVPN, easily the best VPN in the Western Hemisphere. Keith, how's it going?
Yeah. Is it not global?
Aye, but it's the best in the Western Hemisphere. That's it.
Okay.
Right, there you go.
Right. Okay. So what are we making of this? I don't know what to make of any of this anymore. By the way, Celtic must win. Did win down the road. 3 points. Job done. Mission accomplished. And I said the other night, Dan, on the show that Celtic had to win that game. Otherwise, I thought they would really toil to cut the gap on Hearts. And then about 10 minutes into the game, you're thinking to yourself, hold on a wee second. 1 point, they'd only be 1 point less than Rangers. They're not out of this, even if it's just a draw. And they get the win. So that's great from a Celtic perspective. They go into second place. They're building a little bit of momentum. But the flip side of that is the performance is so unconvincing that you're looking at it. And even though they get the win, that you think that they had to get the win, I look at the performance level and I'm still not sure. And then the other flip side of that is, what did we say the other night? You have to be a killer. And when Celtic needed it, they found it again. That goal, they turned to the bench once again. James Forrest. I know it's 2026, as previously said, but he still looks like a go-to man for me. And brilliant assist. Nygren pops up, gets the goal. That's what he does as well. And Celtic negotiate a difficult trip to the northeast. That's the game in hand out the way, and now they're sitting in second. Hearts are in the crosshairs, and I don't know what comes next. I really don't. I just can't make head nor tail of this season.
I wouldn't like to guess myself. We've got tons of comments coming in already, Keith. If you watched at home, let us know your thoughts on Celtic's 2-1 win at Aberdeen. Let me throw a few of the comments at you. Joseph says, rank rotten, shocking performance, passing back, wasting time, too slow, not shooting often enough. I'm frustrated. This one from Davey says, it's not easy watching, but I would take 2-1 for the next 9 games. Craig says Maida does more with one leg than Big Tam in games. He means Cavanchara. And also,
I'm not sure I would hold out Maeda's cameo performance tonight as.
What was that shot at the end all about? That was bizarre.
When the big boy Milne slips and Maeda's throwing absolutely shanks. I didn't think he looked good at all when he came off the bench tonight, to be honest with you. But again, this is what I'm saying about Celtic. They're unconvincing. Cavanchara starts, and I just don't think he contributes. And I think it's another headache for Martin.
Zero goal threat. Goal threat. You don't think he's ever going to score?
No, and I didn't think he did too much else in the game either, to be honest with you. I thought Celtic were really stodgy, all over the pitch. Thought they were disconnected. And I wonder, Dan, what the guys think, but for me, maybe you got a kind of idea tonight of why there's been a reluctance to put Sinisalo in. Because I thought that became one of the biggest problems, but that comment there's spot on. The amount of passbacks. And that was strange to me because I felt that gave Aberdeen impetus in the first half. The amount of times the ball was going back to Sinisalo and he looked like a golfer with the yips. Didn't know what to do with it.
Although, I would say though, Keith, Ryan is one of a few people saying Sinisalo with a great save that Schmeichel couldn't get to. The flick from Nisbet in the second half.
Again, so there's another perfect example of how are you supposed to make sense of this? Because Sinisalo, the way that he was hesitant with the ball at his feet, Aberdeen were pushing up the game in the first half. The two centre forwards that were shutting down the easy ball out to the centre halves. Sinisalo was taking an edge and then playing really risky balls into the middle of the pitch. Aberdeen were getting a turnover in there, and they were actually getting a real foothold in the contest because of it. And I thought a lot of that was down to Sinisalo doesn't know what he's doing with the ball at his feet. He genuinely looked as if he was taking so many touches, he was so hesitant. And I thought, well, maybe that's what they're seeing at Lennoxtown that makes it makes them convinced that the best bet was Schmeichel all this time. But then Sinisalo makes the save away his left-hand side brilliant save from Nisbet's glancing header. And you're right, that might be a stretch too far for Kasper Schmeichel, literally.
Aye. I don't think Schmeichel would have got to that in his current state.
Well, you think about the one at Rugby Park.
Aye, it was very similar.
On that side.
We get tons of people, Keith, writing in saying the Negrin goal was offside. Now, I know it did look offside.
It looked offside. It looked offside from the angle that you could get watching it on the TV. But these are meant to be factual decisions. Now, the VAR isn't using Sky's camera angles on that. I don't think they must have a definitive. That's what the technology is there for, and the technology appeared to show that the Aberdeen player's toe was playing Niagara onside, and you have to trust the technology. If you can't trust the technology, the game's up.
I thought the second replay showed he was just onside.
I thought I wasn't sure at all until the line get drawn.
That's what I mean. That replay.
Just when the line gets drawn, because even there was a couple of replays, and your eye is telling you that he's that offside, but clearly the angle's not right. The line gets drawn on, and I don't think we can be having a tinfoil hat debate about the lines. The lines are the one thing that we've got to cling to that have to be real. Mind you, having said that, I was curious. This time, this season, there has been one instance. That was the goal that Celtic lost away at Stuttgart, wasn't it? When the boy comes running on 30 yards up the pitch, and I was wondering if there was a big curve in that line. But look, I keep coming back to it. I don't buy into conspiracies. You've got to trust the technology. We can have lots of arguments, we have done this season, about officials and their judgment when it comes down to decision making and calls and that sort of thing. But the lines are the lines, and we've got to be able to trust in that.
John in the comments, I think, sums it up quite well by saying Negrin was a Clement toenail onside. So I think we need to accept that, I think. But tons of comments coming in, Keith, already, not just on that. Let me throw a few more at you. Anthony says, is Negrin a striker and nobody told him? He's an absolute conundrum. Chris Gardner says, Benji Arthur, major upgrade on Dane Murray. Van Dijk needs to start from here on in for me.
He did look okay, didn't he? He had
a
couple of minutes in the first half where he took a couple of heavy touches, gave away possession, almost got his side in trouble, and looked a bit shaky for a couple of minutes after that. But he played his way back into the game. Physically impressive. Stood up to the battle against Olasanya, which is no mean feat. And looked nice and composed as well when he kind of got his breath back after that couple of minutes. I thought he looked okay. He looked fine. He'll have bigger tests than he did tonight. That's for sure. If he is to stay in the team between now and the end of the season, but I think he can be fairly happy with his contribution tonight. That's for sure. And bear in mind, he must have only found out about 10 minutes before kickoff that he was starting the match, because Dane Murray was meant to, and I think he's pulled up with a thigh injury just in the warm up there. So no, a lot of credit to him. I think he's stepped into a really potentially difficult situation, and he's done fine there.
And Chris pointing out that he was man of the match on Sky as well. I think he probably deserved that. Ross in the comments says, when are Celtic going to learn? We need to work hard for these points. Too many games we down tools too early, and it comes back to bite us. Wake up and play with some urgency. Partick Thistle says, I think there will be a lot of these types of games to come. Teams will need to grind it out. I can only see Motherwell playing with freedom. Davey says, Chavan Char is nothing like a striker. Remember his interview when he arrived. He likes to come in from the wing carrying the ball. And interestingly, McKenna, a big Jambo, Keith, says, nothing to fear watching that display. That is a poor Aberdeen team. Maybe right.
I don't think they need to fear Aberdeen in the first place. Yeah, look, it is a poor Aberdeen team who actually played quite well on the night, but I felt that Celtic really let them into the game. I mean, what are you thinking when Kieran Tierney slams that one into the roof of the net after 4 minutes? You're thinking, well, this is easy street for Celtic. They'll go on to win this quite comfortably. For once, Martin O'Neill can have a quite relaxing shift on the sidelines. Martin O'Neill, by the way, who in the biggest surprise move of the night appears to have got a hold of Sean Maloney's Clippers. He and by the way, pulling what was left of his hair out at times during that match, because I just felt Celtic were so sloppy. And as a couple of the comments there said, so slow, so sluggish in possession. I actually felt it was when and I know I've been banging the drum for Luke McCown, and I felt when he dropped a little bit deeper to join up with the midfield, that was the one time or two or three times in that first half where actually Celtic moved the ball quickly through the middle, and they found space and they actually get down the sides. But I don't know. I just felt there was a disconnect again, and I think it's worrying, and it goes back to, I think, the first leg against Stuttgart, Daniel, where I said after that one that Martin O'Neill will walk away from that tonight confused, because I don't think after that game, I think he would have got a bit of a fright, and he's now in this situation with 9 games to go, and I still don't think, if you asked him right now, he'd be able to pick what his strongest first 11 is, and that has to be a concern. He's chopping and changes, the chopping and changing that isn't making it look better or more connected or more fluid. They just look like a side which is absolutely relying on that gut instinct that we talked about the other night, that killer instinct, that ability to just dig a moment out when they need it most of all. And again, I can't credit James Forrest enough. I've been saying it for a while about him as well, and it's just brilliant wing play. It was actually a lovely move. Hitate's ball to Arojo down the side. Forrest, he's got that burst, and it's a beautiful ball and beautiful measured. No panic, no slashing at it. Just played it into Nygren's feet. Nygren tucks it away.
And it was, you should say as well, Keith, I know you did mention it, but it was a great ball by Forrest for the penalty that Celtic won at the weekend. A terrific ball, right on Maeda's head.
But that was the point I was trying to make the other day, Dan, that when Martin O'Neill needed to turn to his bench, Chavanchara's sitting there, and he went with James Forrest, and James Forrest gets put onto the pitch, and he produces. And he's produced, his burst energy, his beautiful little sandwich into the penalty box at Ibrox is what got the penalty kick. He turned the Rangers' defence, caused that bit of panic, and did the exact same thing at Pittodrie tonight. And you wonder where Celtic would be right now. Well, they'd have lost at Ibrox, and they might have only taken a point at Pittodrie, and that would have been it. So James Forrest, another major contributor. And how many times, by the way, have Celtic got to this point in the season over these last few years, and suddenly James Forrest appears from cold storage and starts doing what James Forrest does, and he's a game changer. And I know that Celtic fans will probably be frustrated that the club has not been able to recruit, and that even at this late stage, he's 34 now, he probably still looks like Celtic's best bet in the wide areas. And they keep trying, and Yang did okay in the first half. Taneke, don't think offered anything down the left-hand side. But you just know, as soon as James Forrest comes on the pitch, he'll create something, he'll do something, he'll impact us. And I'm struggling to think of a time where he hasn't. When he has been given the opportunity either as a starter or off the bench, 9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10, James Forrest will do something that none of the others that are playing in these wide positions are doing.
Yeah. No, I mean, the comments reflect that as well. Rebel says Jamesy getting a year's extension for sure in June. Chick says it's not like he's the most decorated Celt for a reason. This one as well. Central Scott says Keith is right about Forrest. Who gives a damn if he's 34 or 44? He continues to produce the goods. Big Rab says after Sunday, Celtic go to a game a week, have a lot more time in the training pitch to work on tactics. Celtic haven't been able to have time on the training pitch since November, which I think is a good point. But just going back to the team itself, Keith, you can have all the training time you want. I just don't see a striker that's going to score goals for Celtic. And like you say, I don't think Martin O'Neill is convinced by any of them.
No, he's not. And I tell you why, and we all know why, and we all said why. That's why the Celtic fans are up in arms and have been since, the start of the season, and then even more so after the January window. Celtic have failed to supply their manager with the quality and the tools that he needs to be confident of going in and winning any game. That's an Aberdeen side that are in an absolute tailspin, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't for the fact that they've got a few points in the bag and a little bit of breathing space, you'd start to get really worried for them. That was a better performance by their standards this season tonight. But Celtic shouldn't be allowing that. And the reason that it's happening, and it's not happening once every so often, it's almost every time Celtic step out onto a pitch, they're struggling to win the games that in previous years you would just take it as read. That's a 3-point banker. You can't say that about any Celtic game now. And that's for no other reason. As you said, you can have all the time in the training pitch you want, but if the players aren't good enough, they're not good enough. And it's the thing that I keep coming back to. Celtic have got that killer instinct, and it's why they're going for the 14th title in 15 years. Oh well, it's not the only reason. They've had quality over that period.
Aye.
They don't have the quality this year, but what they do have is that thing in the pit of their stomach that when they need to dig themselves out, somebody comes up with something, and more often than not, it seems to be enough.
James pointing out in the comments, where was Iheanacho? We need an explanation. I don't think Iheanacho... Martin O'Neill likes a big striker, doesn't he? A big focal point. Iheanacho isn't it. You know, if he's even fit. And Rebel's one of the...
I'm starting to wonder about the Iheanacho thing, because it's not making any sense to me, because...
He is fully fit.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well,
for him.
Not carrying an injury, you mean?
Aye.
So I don't know. I think there's a problem there, and the reason that I say that is Iheanacho, when he has had a bit of game time, I know he's not a big guy. I know he's not a Chris Sutton or a John Hartson, but I think he links the play. I think he's the best at linking the play that Celtic have got in the centre forward here. As Maida can't do it. He can't play with his back to goal. And he actually has shown, when I've seen him, that he's able to hold the ball up. He's not getting thrown off the ball. He's not a weak centre forward, even though he might lack inches in terms of height. But I wonder. I don't know. I just feel there's something off with the whole Iheanacho thing. I wonder if he's done something that hasn't impressed Martin O'Neill or the coaching staff, because for me, in terms of what he can offer that team, it's I'd say a better platform as a number 9 than anybody else is likely to give them. Because let's not forget, it's a guy that played for Pep Guardiola,
Aye.
Man City. So
he's still only 29.
He's not old. He was part of the Leicester side under Brendan Rodgers. Won the FA Cup there. Don't think he was part of the Championship winning side with Leicester, but he's played big games for big clubs, for good managers, and Celtic aren't getting enough out of him. Now, why that is, I don't know. It would appear to me that they're seeing something. I don't know if it's attitude, I don't know what it is, but if he was fully fit and they were happy with everything they were seeing on the training ground, he'd be getting a lot more game time, and he'd be a lot closer to. I mean, he's not even in the fringes right now, is he?
That's the thing. That's the thing. If everyone's fully fit, if you assume he's fully fit, and he's been posting videos on social media of him training alone, with all due respect, he's better than Adamu and Chavanchara.
I wonder about that, about the posting videos of himself. Do you know what I mean? Is it
sending a message?
If I was the manager, would I be happy with that? What are you doing that for? Because what you're doing is saying you're undermining me, you're undermining my decision. Are you throwing a huff here? Is the rattle come out the pram? I don't know. And I'm speculating on all of that. It might be grossly unfair, but sometimes you just get a sense, and it's clear. Iheanacho, for whatever reason, just isn't in favour. And I wonder if he's ever going to be back in favour at Celtic.
Aye. Anglin Ayrshire says, I think it's a contract issue. Chris Gardner says he's been disciplined 3 times for missing team meetings and lateness. He asked us to check with Mick Gannon. We'll check in with Mick, see if he knows anything about that. It's all speculation, I guess. Sean says it's a contract extension. If he plays too many matches, perhaps I'd like to see him in the team. Who knows? Looking ahead to the weekend, obviously there's no league games this weekend, Keith. Apart,
everybody can take a big breath because there's nothing happening this week. It's all nice and quiet.
apart
Wait
from,
a minute.
apart from Dundee Motherwell,
Yeah,
and I think we can look at the league table, and if Motherwell win that,
I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. Motherwell go to Dundee, and albeit Dundee are much improved under Stephen Presley, but you just fancy Motherwell because they are just so in the groove right now. So Motherwell go to Dundee, win it. They go a point behind Rangers. Everybody's level in 29 games, with Motherwell just 1 point behind Rangers and just 2 points behind Celtic. I mean,
remarkable.
It's just extraordinary. And obviously the gap between fourth and first at that point would be 7 points, which does seem like a big ask. But I agree with everybody, and I've been saying it for a while. You just don't discount them. Don't discount them. Okay. Do you know what I would say as well on that, Daniel? Hearts are enjoying themselves, but don't tell me they're not feeling pressure.
Oh, they must be.
They're feeling this. There's history weighing down on their shoulders. They are feeling pressure. They're doing really well to get through that and not to let it affect them. And they keep on winning games and doing everything they need to do. But they're feeling it. They're feeling the weight of history bearing down on their shoulders. Celtic, of course, they're feeling pressure, and you see it every time they walk out onto a pitch. Rangers absolutely creaking under the pressure, especially after giving away the potential win against Celtic at the weekend. Everybody there is feeling pressure. Motherwell, you think they're feeling any? They're just enjoying themselves. They're just having fun.
A free hit.
They're just having the time of their lives. There's no pressure on them. They can just go out and keep playing football the way that man there on your screen wants them to play football. And that, I think, makes them even more dangerous.
Aye.
Because while everybody else is feeling the strain and, gasping for breath in the middle of these games and looking at the scoreboard and the clock, Motherwell will just play. They'll just go and play. And actually, if anything, they're getting better and better and more impressive as the season goes on. They've really got into a groove under Askew, and in this season, you just can't dismiss. You can't dismiss anything at this point. Anything literally could happen.
You can see there, Ryan, in the comments says, imagine the scene in Tam Cowan's house if Motherwell win the league. That's a fair point. Davey says, we're down to single figures to play in the league. It's officially squeaky bum time. Let's see how Hearts cope. And this one from McKenna says, Motherwell haven't felt the pressure yet. It'll be interesting to see how they react.
They're not going to feel any pressure.
No.
They're simply not. Because no matter what happens, no matter if they didn't win another point between now and the end of the season, everybody's going to turn around and say, what a brilliant season that was.
You're right, actually, if they didn't win another game. Aye.
How good were they? What a brilliant addition they've been. And, what a brilliant first season in Scottish football for Askew. The football that they've played, they've been the great entertainers. And their story, and maybe it's a good thing for them that they've been just a little bit detached from the top three, because it's just allowed them to go and play. And you feel now that they've got themselves into such a mode that's what they'll do. They'll just keep on playing. And the great thing about Motherwell is it doesn't matter if they're home, away. It doesn't matter if it's away to Dundee or away to Celtic or away to Hearts, as they'll be before the split. They'll just go and play the way that they play.
Okay.
And they'll enjoy it. And the fans are loving it. And as I said, while everybody else is feeling the pressure, they're on a magic carpet ride. They're on a big marshmallow cloud right now. They're just loving it.
James, in the comments, we've talked about this before, but he says that on Motherwell, Celtic must go for their manager. Guy's sensational, what he's done there and the players he's working with. I can't really disagree. I mean, look, if you're part of the Celtic board, you have to at least ask the question, don't you? Find out.
We've said it, how many times have we said it? I said about Aberdeen. I cannot believe that Aberdeen haven't tried to throw the kitchen sink and just kind of tempt. The only thing that makes any sense there is that Alan Burrows, the chief executive, was a big Motherwell fan. maybe he's talked him out of it. But no, there's no logical explanation for why Celtic wouldn't wish to explore all avenues where that one's concerned. I know, was it Mick the other night, reckons that Asco's already got an eye on possible moves to down south into England. But Mick, again, talking about the Championship.
Well, here's a stat for you, Keith. Who was the last non-Old Firm manager to go in one step from a Scottish Premiership team to the English Premier League? We could be here forever, so I'll just tell you.
It's not Owen Coyle, was it?
Nope.
Right, go.
Jim Jeffries went to Bradford City.
That's right.
There you go. But my point is it's not very common. But if anyone's going to do it, I think Asco could.
I don't think he's going to get that. The snobbery involved in English, he could get a Championship club now. If you're Asco and you get offered a Championship club or you get offered Celtic, please don't anybody tell me that the lure of English football and the lure of playing in the second tier of English football is bigger than the lure of potentially managing Celtic and playing in Europe. And that's got to be. And then, by the way, see if it goes, then it can do. Then you follow the Big Ange route. If Asco does to Celtic what he's done at Motherwell, then he can just go and pick his ticket down south.
Right, his ticket, aye, absolutely. No, look, it's the same with Russell Martin. Like, see, I think the reason why Russell Martin gets such a shock at Rangers is because seeing English Championship, I remember saying at the time, he got Manager of the Month in English Championship after a month where he had 2 wins and 2 draws.
Yeah.
Can he do that here? Two draws is an absolute crisis.
And Asco has now, he knows the landscape. He knows the environment. He knows what this is all about up here. He knows what the expectation is at clubs like Celtic or Rangers or whoever else. And he knows, and he's done it with Motherwell, because look at the results that they've had. If he took the Celtic job, he's not going in blind. He's not going in like Russell Martin or Wilfred Nonsi and thinking, well, you've got time to make changes and do your thing. He would need to do it at Celtic, similar to what he did at Motherwell, which is just go in there, knowing full well that there isn't a lot of time, knowing full well that results will be required. But you've now got a very healthy back catalogue here of evidence which points to this is what this man can do here. And this is what he can do with, I mean this with all due respect, I'm sure the Motherwell players would accept it. They're a squad that's been pieced together on a shoestring, run-of-the-mill guys. Some of the players in there have been kind of very solid, but kind of journeymen who are now playing Harlem Globetrotter style stuff at that very late stage in their career.
Aye.
So it stands to reason. It's just a logical, leap of faith to say, well, if he can do that on a shoestring, what could he do on a proper budget? What would that look like if you upgrade the players? And that's, funnily enough, what Ange Postecoglou's philosophy was all along. That I'm going to get a style of play and I'm going to stick with it. And as I progress up the managerial ladder, so my budget will get bigger, the players that I can bring into my system will be better. And that was his, and that's the rise that took him all the way to England's Premier League, and then he won a European trophy with Spurs, even though Spurs it in the end and booted him out.
Aye.
But the philosophy behind it was solid. This is what I do, so I can do it here at that level, and as I go up, I'll be able to work with a better quality player, and therefore the team will get the quality of the football will improve and go up another notch.
Aye.
On the journey.
John makes a point though in the comments, and I genuinely think if I was a prospective Celtic manager, this would come into my thinking. He says the board have failed to back Rodgers and O'Neill. Why would Asco come to Celtic if he won't be fully backed? And I definitely think that's a consideration that any manager coming in and would look at it and go, well, hang on a minute.
Wait, guys, hold on. Look, again, with all due respect, this guy was managing in the Faroe Islands not that long ago. If he get the chance to go in, and he'd back himself, managers back themselves. Yeah. So, yeah, people might be bumping their gums about Celtic should be spending more and they should be doing this. And yes, it's a valid argument. The quality hasn't been there. But still, He's got to back himself. A guy that was managing the Faroe Islands, what do you think the budget was there? His eyes would light up with the thought of working with a budget the size which Celtic managers get to work with, even despite the shortcomings and the failures at Boardroom level. Of course he would go into that and fancy his chances. Of course he would.
Aye.
It's madness to suggest anything otherwise.
Rebel says in the comments, Dundee aren't mugs. I see a draw at Dens Park on Saturday. No disrespect to Dundee, and obviously Stephen Presler. I think he's done a really good job there. And I like Stephen Presler a lot for what it's worth, but I do hope Motherwell win. Just purely to get
keep the pot boiling.
To keep that, I mean, that title race, if they win a point behind Rangers, 2 behind Celtic, all the games would be even then. That is just mouth-watering. The greatest title race I can remember in what?
Listen, this is an all-time job, Dan. I mean, I'm considerably older than you, and I'm telling you, there's just not been anything like this. Aye. So put that table up again. So Motherwell, say Rebels right, say it's a share of the points, Motherwell would go to 54 at that point. They're still only 3 behind Rangers and 4 behind Celtic.
They're still in there, and obviously they play Hearts away the last game before the split. And actually, the Celtic's next league game is at home to Motherwell.
Yeah, and as I said, Motherwell will go there and play the way that they play, and that's been too good for Celtic this season.
If you remember the last game at Celtic Park, Celtic got a very late dramatic winner. I think it was 3-2, but Motherwell really played them off the park that day.
Motherwell played them off the pitch, and that was the one they were having their teething issues. One of the goals was a comic cut thing, but Askew didn't get too upset about it because that's how he wanted his goalie to play out from the back. Gave away a goal, let Celtic in. But they played the best football on that day, and they absolutely passed Celtic to death at Fir Park, albeit that was during the Nonce weeks, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
Was it? It was, wasn't it?
Who knows?
It's been that season. You've blanked that whole period out.
Yeah. Well, listen, we should actually mention, we've talked mainly about Celtic and Motherwell, but Sandro Schwartz was in the stadium tonight, prospective Aberdeen manager. I think apparently he's having talks at Pittodrie. I said last night.
Looks happy to be there, eh?
Looks absolutely delighted. Previously managed Dynamo Moscow, Hertha Berlin, Mainz, New York Red Bulls. Look, I mean, for all we know, he could be a good manager. But watching that, you mentioned the Tierney goal earlier, Keith. I mean, the marking for that was just remarkable. Just Tierney in the middle of the box with an ocean of space.
Pull that pick up again, would you?
It was actually our producer Henrik. There you go.
I mean, that doesn't that? Can we check just to make sure he's there under his own accord?
They are treating me very well.
Are his hands chained to something? Yeah. Look, I think all you would say about the Tierney goal, you can't. Yes, I think Nesbitt lets him run off him, but you've got to give a bit of credit to Liam Scales.
Aye, of course. Aye.
Because that's a terrific overhead kick, and nobody's expecting Liam Scales to do that. And apart from Kieran Tierney, who's got the run on Nesbitt, and good finish, right foot finish.
And Tierney as well, Keith, because look, at certain points at the start of the season, a lot of people were having a go at Kieran Tierney. He was finished, what have you. I think recently, not just the goal scoring, he's been absolutely brilliant. He's been really good.
I'm going to come back to it, Dan. I'm going to come back to my succession line. There's a guy that was brought up, that was embedded into him as a young Celtic player. That you have to be a killer. You have to win the games. A point is not good enough. You have to win every time you pull that shirt on. That's embedded. I mean, that's just part of his psyche. That's the way he's been brought up under guys like Scott Brown. He won't accept second best. And even if he's not, and I don't think we've seen peak Kieran Tierney this season. And you wonder because with the amount of miles that he's clocked up and, some of the baggage that he's carrying physically in terms of his injury record, you wonder if you ever will see absolute peak Kieran Tierney. But see, this version of Kieran Tierney, it's good enough.
It's pretty good.
Especially when it's got, he's the guy, and there's a few of them, whether it's your James Forrest, your Callum McGregor, they just send out this message to all the guys, all the changes, the faces might change around about them, but the ones with the real DNA, the ones who understand, if you're around the Celtic players, if you speak to them at any time, the new guys that come in, they won't stop talking about it, what they learn off these guys that have lived and breathed Celtic Football Club all their lives, and especially over this last period of complete and utter dominance. They won't accept anything other than 3 points when it matters, or a cup win when it matters. And that mental attitude, that mental strength, I think makes such a difference and will make a big difference to how the rest of this campaign works out.
Yeah. Just very briefly before we finish, Keith, there's a mini debate that was going on in the comments asking what's bigger, Leicester winning the Premier League or if Hearts win the Premiership this season.
I've already said Hearts all day long. It's a bigger story.
There you go. I'd probably agree with you to be it.
But Motherwell would be even bigger than that.
Motherwell would eclipse Hearts, and the very final thing, obviously, we've mentioned there's no Premiership games at the weekend aside from Dundee Motherwell. It's the big one on Sunday at Ibrox, Rangers against Celtic, quarter-final of the Scottish Cup. Obviously, looking at that Celtic team tonight, Keith, Martin O'Neill made 4 changes from the game at Ibrox on Sunday. Do you envisage those 4 players will come back in, or do you think there'll be many more changes?
Yeah, we come back to the start of the conversation, Dan. Martin O'Neill, and it's a long bus journey down the road. And I'm telling you now, they'll be pulling away from Pittodrie Stadium round about now. It'll probably take a good 3.5, 4 hours, whatever it is, to get back down the road. And he'll be sitting there in his seat, and he won't have worked out between leaving Pittodrie and pulling up outside Celtic Park tonight what his best 11 is, because nobody can know. Nobody can know with any certainty what Celtic's best 11 is, or what 11 he'll send out at Ibrox at the weekend.
One thing I would bet on is I don't think the Ox will play. Didn't obviously come on tonight, and I think he gets swallowed up a little bit at the weekend.
Yeah,
could be totally wrong.
I would tend to agree with you, because I think what you have to kind of conclude from it all is that Callum McGregor, who, by the way, was excellent tonight, really excellent.
46th game of the season.
Yeah. I thought he was, I know Benjamin Arthur got the man of the match. For me, Callum McGregor ran the show. But he needs help. He needs energy around him. And I think what happened in the first half at Ibrox was he was trying to do the running of 2 players, 3 maybe, 2.5 in the middle of the pitch. And at his age, he can't do it. Yeah. And I'm not saying the legs are gone, because it's not. He's a machine. But I think as he's got a little bit older, he's realised he will need to pace himself. He needs to play and bust Callum McGregor, and he can control games in 10, 15-minute bursts. And sometimes that can be enough over the course of a match if he plays in a burst for 2 or 3 times over that period. But when he's actually having to go full tilt, running about, covering gaps that other people are leaving and doing their running for them, he can't influence the game the way that he has to. So for me, that's why I did wonder if Luke McCowan might have played his way into a starting place at Ibrox, because I think he gives them energy. And I think in that first half tonight, you saw it when he dropped a little bit deeper. That's when Celtic get the ball moving really quickly. McGregor seems to enjoy that. So is that a possible solution? But if that is a possible solution, does it mean that Nygren doesn't start? And if Nygren doesn't start, I mean, there you go, perfect example. Luke McCowan comes in, does really well. I think really helps the balance of the midfield and points of the game. But then comes off the pitch, Nygren comes on and gets his goal and does what he does. So there's pluses and minuses with just about every single decision that Martin O'Neill has to make. And he has to weigh it up and balance it. And that's why we come back to this thing, Dan, that he can't know what his strongest 11 is. He's just got to suck it and see from a game to game. You know, put out a team, see where it's going right, see where it's going wrong, and then make running repairs as the games go along. But he doesn't have the security of going into any game now thinking, well, there's my 11. I can hang my hat on that 11, because he can't.
No, absolutely. I think that more or less brings us to the end of Wednesday night's late night Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. I'll just leave you with this, Keith. Sean wants you to get your facts right. He says, when Rangers and Celtic play Aberdeen, they actually fly. So Martin O'Neill won't be in the bus. So if you could up your game before tomorrow's show, that would be great.
Well, that just shows you what an old timer I am.
Although I would go back to Sean and say you spelt Rangers wrong. Undermines you a wee bit.
Rangers.
Rangers, when Rangers play.
By the way, would a capital letter kill you?
Listen, Sean, this is backfired on you. Listen, you come at the king. You
Sean, did
you? No, look, thanks again to everyone watching for all the comments. First class, and thanks very much for staying up late with us. As I say, we'll be back at 6 p.m. tomorrow to look ahead once again to that Cup quarter-final and Dundee's match against Motherwell. Keith, it's always a pleasure. Sleep well.
Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow, mate.
Thanks for watching. Hope you can join us tomorrow. Cheers.